Okay, everyone, we are recording and we are also live on Facebook. So Carol, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm just gonna wait until my computer tells me up that now it's 8 o'clock. We have only three, now we have four. So, Laura and Erica and Mary and I. All right. I'm gonna give it one more minute until 8:01 because we are expecting Greg and we are expecting Megan as well.
Here comes Greg. Well, I admitted him. It's taking a moment, apparently, this morning. It's just saying joining.
Mhm. All right, well, since he's joining, I'll just wait for a couple more moments. There he is. All right. I am going to call this meeting to order at 8:01 a.m. This is meeting of the Personnel Committee of the Village of Shorewood Hills. It is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. All right. Let's call the roll. Koki Albrecht is excused. I am here. Gulbranson?
Present.
Lampy? You're muted, but I can see that you are here, Greg. And now it looks like you're frozen. So, Greg, Lampy, yes, here, thank you. McKinney, I'm expecting her. Let's put some brackets around that. We'll say she's absent for now, but I do expect her. Moser.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm trying to do this on my iPhone and I've never done that before. If I can switch over to my computer, I will. I'm
Well,
present in any event, so
far
bear
so
with me.
good. We can
Pardon?
hear you and we can see you clearly, both.
Well, that's too bad for the latter. Okay.
Stevenson.
Here.
Yay. And also McKinney is here. Yay. All right. Everybody's accounted for. All right. Julie, are we in compliance with open meeting law?
Yes, we are.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Public comments, an opportunity for community members to speak. No discussion or action. Speakers may be limited to 3 minutes. We have a member of the public. Gloria, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. Thank you. I hope everyone's doing well today. I'm Gloria Beach, and I'm on the Finance Committee. Before that, I was on Recreation Committee, and I've been on the Ad Hoc Stormwater Committee. So I was at the special meeting on Friday, and I saw the package that was put together with the retention package as outlined by Brian Mooney. And after the meeting, I talked to Carol and I made a suggestion that maybe um, that we put numbers to it because the percentages I felt listening to people were off-putting because 20%, what does that mean? So let's put some numbers to it. So Carol was great, Brian was great, and we got some numbers that I used to create this calendar or create this schedule. What I did first, Brian, so that you know, is I backed into a payroll calendar. Julie, I hope that my payroll calendar isn't too atrocious to you, but what I first did is I created a payroll calendar which is when does the payroll start and when does when does somebody get a paycheck?
Oops, sounds like maybe feedback.
I'm sorry,
No,
what?
I think that's me, and I'm going to get out of the Zoom.
Well, I think Miss Mosher, if you just mute yourself, that should be enough. In any case, so what I did is I created the payroll calendar, and then I took Brian Mooney's bonus structure and I put it up against that payroll calendar for the $5,000 is what really was catching my interest. And because the payout was on the 13th and the final day was on the 13th, I assumed that every day, every month, and it said 1 month, 2 months, et cetera, et cetera. I assumed every month was on the 13th. Are you there still? Something just happened with my
Yes.
computer.
I just shared the screen to try to let people look while you're talking, Gloria.
Oh, okay. So that's option one is me mapping out what Brian Mooney's plan as presented in the special meetings package looked like in terms of money. But it created a problem in my mind for whoever is doing payroll because the idea behind these milestones, if you will, would be to hopefully retain people as long as possible under this $5,000 bonus structure. But if we're having a milestone be mid-pay period, basically the next day after, we're saying, okay, if you quit now, then you only have to pay back this much amount. So I thought that was maybe an unintentional I don't know how to say it. I'm at a loss for words. I'm going to call it a mistake, but an unintentional. All mistakes are unintentional, but it was kind of it could be cleaner. So I went with option 2, which is exactly the same structure as Brian Mooney's plan as outlined with this special meeting, but it puts it on a payroll calendar to close out on that Friday at the very end of the pay period, assuming people aren't working on Saturday anyways, which would make the it just makes payroll a lot cleaner for whoever is managing the payroll. Because of that, because the special meeting, we didn't approve this, and because it's this week, I did change also the payout dates and the start dates, and you'll see that highlighted in red. Option 3 was what I saw an email from a resident coming into the board. I was put on copy because I'm a candidate for trustee. And this is the outline that this email into the board suggested. This person said, fine with the 5,000, but this person preferred to have 10%. But what I thought was, so the numbers on that changed. But what I thought was really interesting about that is that she also put some activity metrics, if you will, during that period. So, okay, we're going to do this 5,000 bonus, 5,000 5-month bonus, and we're going to do the 10% wage increase during this period, 6 months, higher. Oh, I'm rushing through because I'm feeling this 4-minute. Can we relax the 4 minutes, please, for me?
Yep, but
Thank you.
be advised that we are going to discuss all of these, and
I understand. I'm trying to give you my logic.
Yeah,
I'm just
yep.
trying to understand, and I'm rushing because I'm so anxious about this 4
Okay.
minutes.
Just-
So
just-
I'm going to relax about the 4 minutes.
Go ahead.
But and I don't plan to be included in your discussion. That's why I'm in public comments. So this resident wanted 10%, and so what I did is I set up a 7-month wage increase because I'm assuming I'm being very optimistic that within a month we're at 100% employment, which I don't think we will be. But because we don't know when we'll be at 100%, I just picked something so that we could have a number on it. So I went with 7 months because, okay, we get to 100% employment within a month, and then we have 6 months thereafter of training to onboard people. So that's why that 7 months is there. Option 4 was the idea I had because it seems to me that the point of a retention package is to retain people, not just to say, oh, don't leave for 5 months or don't leave until we've got new people trained, but actually to retain people. And so I set up a 12-month structure. In here, I wish it were phrased a little bit differently in here because my opinion of this is that these dollar amounts for the 3 employees that we're talking about should be all upfront. It should not be connected to a payroll calendar. So I think that if we're going to do a retention package, I think let's do it. But let's do it so that these folks are actually retained. And I think that the senior employees are obviously a critical focus. And my math is showing you what a 10% increase looks like on different pages. There's a 20% increase, what that looks like. So the folks in this personnel committee can do the math themselves to derive different scenarios. But that is my opinion, is if we're going to retain, let's retain. And I'd like to look at senior employees for at least 12 months retention. And Ms. Ballinger seems like a wonderful addition, but she's not senior. So with that in mind, yes, let's retain her, but let's get us through the end of the year, at least with Ms. Ballinger. And that's what I wanted to say. But the one thing that's missing from this, but Carol and I did discuss, and I wish I'd written it down, is taking that resident for option 3, where she said, let's do some performance metrics. What I talked to Carol about is that for the option 4 that I've outlined, I really think there should be some kind of an improvement plan embedded into this period. And what I mean by that is the board needs to really look at themselves and say, okay, what are we going to do differently to make things better for staff? For example, with the ORRs, what are we going to do differently so that the staff doesn't have so many ORRs? From the staff perspective, I think the staff really could look better at what are we going to do differently in terms of onboarding people so that they don't come in deer in the headlights scared, but so that they're coming in and not having the gossip and stories about what the residents have done last week or last month, etc. And so I talked to Carol a little bit about that. And Carol, I'm going to just stop talking unless anyone has any questions for me and just turn this over to Personnel Committee for discussion.
Thank you, Gloria. I hope everybody has their questions written down, and I will do my best to answer during the discussion period. But thank you, Gloria, for giving us the very quick outline, and of course for the work itself. So, do we have? I'm going to stop sharing for now. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to speak? Kathy, you're muted. Do you wish to speak or no? Or Carla? Nope. Okay. All right. Let's move on then. Report on Board of Trustees actions related to personnel. In the last regular board meeting in January, it was decided that the Personnel Committee should take up some discussion of codes of ethics. And I guess it was just to allow for more full discussion. I mean, we broached the topic and we looked at a couple of different codes of ethics in the meetings, but we didn't really go too far. So that's going to be our job, to go a bit farther. So that will be coming at a future meeting, but not today. Updates on recent hiring and staff turnover. Brian, can you please address that? Or I should back up and say, sorry, with respect to agenda item 5, does anybody have any questions about what I reported from the last board meeting? Any questions about that? Okay. All right. Sorry, Brian, please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Carol. To give a really quick update, as you all know, our clerk, Chrissy Call, was offered the position and accepted the position as city clerk with the city of Monona. Our position vacancy announcement for her clerk deputy treasurer position was posted shortly thereafter. It is open through February the 13th, so this Friday. We have received at this time a couple of applications. I actually received another additional application last night. So we will be formalizing an interview process probably either this week or next to look into schedule for availability of a personnel committee member to assist with that. I was also able to work with the Public Administration Associates, PAA, to seek out temporary assistance within Village Hall due to the two recent departures of both Chrissy and our deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, Mrs. Shipman. We were able, ironically, to secure the services of Aline Hauser, and Aline was most recently the city clerk in Monona, and she is filling in on a part-time basis with us in the office for the foreseeable future, next couple of months. So hopefully that will get us through at least this upcoming February election and quite possibly the April election to add a little extra stability within the admin ranks through these challenging times.
Laura,
Can you spell her name for me?
Aline, Alene, Hauser, Houser.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question, Brian, which is you reported on the advertisement process for the clerk position. How's it going with the position recently held by Nicole Shipman?
So I have not put together a formal job announcement on that. This was something that I wanted to see if perhaps when we reviewed our first round of applicants for the clerk position, if we did see that there were some applicants that looked to be good fits for that deputy clerk, deputy treasurer position, and perhaps we could look at this as an opportunity to do two hiring processes at once.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. Any other
Sure thing.
questions for Brian about these? Yeah, Laura.
So if we get those two, are we back to 100%?
If we get those two positions filled, we will be back to 100% staffing within the administrative office ranks. What I cannot tell you with any certainty is the people that we'll be bringing in will have prior municipal experience. So there may be a good period of institutional knowledge transfer necessary and training necessary to bring them up to speed on how to successfully do the jobs that they are filling. So I do anticipate, much like Katie has been phenomenal. She's doing everything we could ever ask of her right now and is doing an incredible job. But she had very limited governmental experience prior to joining the village. So a lot of the systems, a lot of the processes, the way of doing things required a significant amount of administrative staff assistance to bring her into proficiency. We are also in the challenging spot where neither Julie Fitzgerald nor myself have necessarily held the two positions that are vacant here in this office. So we do have a gap right now that we're hoping that Aline Hauser can assist us with filling in some of the training areas, the blind spots that we don't have the actual hands-on experience working with the programs to get these people up and running.
Okay, but for the clerk though, at least that position, that person by definition has to have municipal government experience, correct?
That is how we have the position posted, asking for a certified clerk as part of the job announcement. We may have to, go outside of that depending on the applicant pool for the position, which means we're going to have a period where they're going to have to seek the proper certifications and training courses to become certified, which likely would not happen prior to the spring election.
Right, yeah, okay. So it's a possibility that in our pool, we have people who do not have that experience. It's not an actual requirement, it's a preferred.
Yes, it is preferred, and
Okay.
and we may have applicants who have previously achieved that certification, had it lapsed due to time away from municipal government. So
Got it.
it would just be a recertification
Okay,
situation.
thank you.
All right, thanks, Laura and Brian. Any other questions about recent ongoing hiring and losses?
Well, I do have lots of questions about the losses, but I'm assuming we're going to talk about that in the next, with the other agendas, so I'll hold it to there.
With other meeting agendas, you mean?
No, with the packet.
Oh, I see. Yeah, with the recommendation of retention bonuses. All right, that makes sense. Okay, anybody else with questions for Brian? I don't know, Brian, do you plan to stick around or do you gotta exit?
No, I intend to stay for the duration today.
Okay, thanks. We're gonna move along then. Okay, next item is discussion and possible action to recommend administrative employee retention bonuses to the village board. All right, so Gloria quickly narrated, but let's go back and look at option one, and I'm gonna share my screen.
May I, Carol, may I make a preliminary comment?
Yes, please.
If I understand correctly, and perhaps we'll quickly determine that I don't understand correctly. We're looking at a retention bonus plus a salary, a temporary salary bump.
Yes.
They're two separate items, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
And in the meeting that began on Friday, we were going to vote on them as two separate votes.
correct.
Yeah, but here they are kind of presented as packages, I guess.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I just want to say as a preliminary matter, as far as the retention bonuses go, some of this, all this charting is too clever by half. It seems to me we're going to some extraordinary complexity over how we parse every nickel instead of just simply giving people money and having an agreement, not unlike one of the documents and this says we can claw back some of it if indeed the person doesn't stay. So I think in a way we insult these employees who have been, this is not something prospective. This is looking back at the trauma they're going through and the demands that are being made of them. And to make this so clever, it seems to me undermines the whole idea that we're saying, thank you very much. Please stay with us. So I think walking through all these charts is not my idea of a good time. The other aspect is when you start adding a premium on continuing, you also have the back end, the morale loss when suddenly you've been doing your job, you're probably still giving 125%, and suddenly your pay drops. So I would think it would make more sense to make an adjustment to pay that is not a temporary increase, because unless you're comfortable with the back end of that being okay, that was really nice, but now you're going to get 10 or 20% less than you were getting. So I caution that. And then the last thing is this, we're going through a period that's not going to be resolved by a quick hire, and it's not going to be because of the onboarding, as somebody referenced it. You need to deal with equity issues for the people that you're going to bring aboard, who are undoubtedly initially going to be subject to the same stresses as the people who are in the staff right now. So I guess my general gut reaction is we ought to heavily load the retention bonus for thanking people, it's really not please stay around. It's thank God you were here when the ship was, lurching sideways. And then if to the extent that we think a salary adjustment is appropriate, this is going to be an ongoing stressful time. Just adjust the salaries up and then maintain equity when you get new people on board, so you don't have an equity issue later on. So that thank you for giving me a chance to put it in a nutshell.
Thanks, Erica. Just finishing making my notes. Well, would anybody, if everybody feels that they understand the various options, perhaps it would be the best to just go round robin and have people do as Erica did and lay out your favorites and your not favorites or whatever else you would like to say. So Erica, just let me summarize. You would rather emphasize the bonus than the pay adjustment.
That's true, and I'd rather view the bonus as something that is not simply a retention in the sense that we want you to stay around, as much as you've really opened both veins for us and we want you to stay around, something that shows gratitude but isn't so complex that we're having to do a lot of math in order to decide how we get it back or how we pay it out.
Okay, thank you, Erica. Who would like to go? Okay, Laura's got her hand up. Since we're not, I guess I'll stop sharing unless somebody really wants to look, in which case I'll share again because I think we're gonna discuss. Laura.
I had a question based on that conversation because I thought I heard something different from Erica. I thought she was saying that she preferred not the bonuses, but the adjustments, to make it an adjustment in pay, not bonus. Did I hear that right, Erica?
No, actually, I think the bonus is really called for. I think but the bonus should not have these crazy strings attached and the higher mathematics in order to make sure we don't give somebody an extra penny or we get something back. Just thank you. Please stay. We value you. And not get so caught up in how you claw it back.
I see.
As
Okay,
far
so
as I do think there's an issue though with paying, adding to salary and then having it scheduled to drop off, because I think you're not really appreciating the impact of that drop off when it happens. That will be a morale buster because there's nothing to say they won't feel they're working just as hard as they were the week before when they were getting more money.
I see. So it's you're saying that the adjustment should just be continued, but do the bonus and the adjustment, but continue the adjustment, right? But I thought that the mindset of the adjustment for the drop off is because they're doing the work of somebody else. And then when that work comes in, so I hear your point about like, there's gonna be the sentiment of I'm continuing to do, but hopefully that's not the case, right? Because somebody now is doing, like there's literally work you're not doing anymore because it's not your responsibility.
So go ahead, Laura. If there's anything else.
Oh, well, no, I wanted Erica to respond to that.
Erica?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Well, it may be that there's a better argument for not doing a salary adjustment at all, but doing another bonus later on. In other words, a bonus for what you've done and a bonus at the end of a period for what you did at the point at which we think, okay, now we're adjusted. I think it's very optimistic to think that this is going to smooth out quickly. The training alone, I'm involved with elections, as is Mary, and Mary's been stuffing absentee ballots daily. And the thought that we are running these two significant elections with nobody there who has a lot of election experience is scary. Because Aline is a gift from the gods, but don't assume we're going to get out of the woods very quickly. We could very well be back in the woods, particularly if some people in the community continue to treat the village employees the way that has hounded them in the way it has happened so far. So I think gratitude right now to the people who are there is best expressed with a bonus.
Thank you. That's helpful. I don't really want to go next, but I will. So I'm ready.
Okay, thanks, Laura.
So I'm really more, I have like lots of questions about the morale issue, right? Because to me, that's really the root of the cause here. So the bonuses are a wonderful, appreciation, and I definitely want to appreciate, but it doesn't help folks to be appreciated and then thrown back into a terrible situation. And so what I would like to see and hear about is what responses have been made. Like, it sounds like the morale has been low for a while, and it sounds like for the last couple of months, we've been down. So like, what are the actual things what ways have we addressed those? What systematic things have changed? What processes are in place so that you know what the morale is, and that you have an understanding of what's brewing so that we don't get to this situation again. And then moving forward, what processes are we going to put in place to continue to address, to per Erica's point, right? Like, this is not a quick snap your fingers, throw some money at it, and everybody's happy. We got some serious issues from everything that I've read, and I can't support just giving money if I'm not also supporting a process and a system that's supporting them, that's actually supporting them. Because the money is great. Yes, we all love money. Well, I guess I would say we all love money, but we all could appreciate more money. But being in a toxic situation, we should be more focused on fixing the toxic situation, I think, first, because that's the thing that hurts the staff the most, and then give them bonuses and things. So that's where I stand, is I need to know more before I could recommend anything. I need to know, what is the system, how is the system changing? What have we done in the past? What are we doing in the future to change the system, so I'm not just throwing folks back into the fire with more money?
Thanks, Laura. Greg.
Yeah, I think Laura and I are in exactly the same place. I saw the core issue, not so much a money issue and for retention. I think it's the environment, the work environment, that's really been suffering. And there are a number of forces involved with that, as we know. So I think that's right. I don't like throwing money at a problem. I'm, of course, supportive of retention bonuses and agree with Erica's look back, look forward approach, but I'm really concerned about the environment, because you're going to be bringing new employees into, and clearly, I don't want to say hostile, but a very difficult work environment. And I think we do need to have something in place to address that, and something very clear about addressing that. So I'll just stop there.
Thanks, Greg. We'll come back to that. Who would like to be next?
I'm not sure I have much to add. I think right now we do need to provide a bonus to the people who have kept our office going and the village functioning. I think from a pace adjustment, we need to look at, again, which is what Personnel Committee used to do, is look at the pay salary schedule, and are we comparable to other entities, and do it thoughtfully. So I'm much more in favor of a bonus to the people who are going through things. And then I could not agree more that we need to do something about the environment. I don't know who the we is. I don't know if it's the board. I don't know if it's the village residents. One of my concerns is, in talking with neighbors, because it's been so cold, people haven't been out just chatting with one another. I would say, of the people that I visited with in the last week or so, no one knows what's going on. They were not aware that that 2 people had left the village administration staff. They were not aware that things were so messy. And I think one of the things, and I would recommend to the board, is that there needs to be some conversation opportunities, and maybe we're at the point of almost going door to door to canvass the village instead of relying on Zoom meetings and whether you watch Facebook or not.
So just to clarify, Mary, if there was an effort to canvass the village, what would we want people to know or do?
I think there are some fundamental questions. And when I just remember in the school district at one point, we had a very contentious issue, and we actually did canvass a neighborhood to get neighbors' responses, because they didn't go to school board meetings, they didn't go to PTO meetings, they were not the active people always. And we hired a firm to literally go door to door, and we had some very specific questions we asked. So in the village, to me, one of the first questions we need to ask is, do we want to maintain the village of Shorewood Hills as an independent municipality? From what I've observed, there seems to be a group of people who do not. And maybe that's a bigger feeling than I even knew. I had no idea. Then I think we need to ask people what they think it takes to run a village. I mean, from my perspective, and I've only been here 35 years, I know some of you have been here much longer. I just think the services that are provided, from sending me a tax bill, which I hate, but and collecting the taxes, paying the bills, cleaning the streets, making sure our water is safe, making sure our village is safe. I am just in awe of the services that are provided, and I think they're not exceptionally out of control financially. And so, you know, I also understand revenue caps, and I'm not sure the village understands that. So having people understand how revenue caps have, I would use the word constrained, how expenses can be accrued in a municipality is important. That's what feels different to me over these years, is just the common knowledge among the village residents and a way of finding out how people feel.
Thank you, Mary. Thanks for that follow-up. Laura, yes.
I had a question for Mary. Mary, when you say that that people don't want it to be a village, is that like what? I don't want you to necessarily have to tell me who, but like, are people saying we should not be a village anymore, or are they saying if we continue this way, we will not be a village anymore?
No, I'm making an assumption by the questioning of why do we have so much staff? How come we pay them?
Oh, I see. Okay.
That there's not a recognition that to be an independent municipality, you
I
have
see.
to have professionals carrying out the functions that are carried out.
Got it.
And
Okay.
there's just so much questioning of our staff, and
Yeah.
I'm really puzzled by it.
Okay. So it's like the understanding of like how government works.
Right.
And like, since you don't know how government works, then we're not going to be a government, but people not saying like we should be a part of Madison.
Well, actually, I did have somebody say that to me, but I don't know how many people that represents.
Okay, great. Thank you.
There is definitely an undercurrent of that I have heard of. Yeah, some people feel like it's just not necessary. So I don't know how big of a contingent that is, but I do think there are people who, or I do know actually that there are people who think we should just become part of Madison.
Okay, and that's being a village is not necessary.
Right.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Like we don't need we don't need our own, you know.
Um,
Erica's trying to say.
So So Erica, if you've got a quick one, then yeah, otherwise we need to let Megan have her go.
Well,
So,
I'm just going to respond somewhat to what Mary said. The the whole city of Madison thing is sort of a be careful what you wish for. But I think that's a macro issue. I think the micro issue is what can be done. And I think Brian can address this, and you can too, Carol. I think in terms of causes, we have a rather anomalous situation on the board where you have one or perhaps more person who are abusive to staff. You have a situation where the staff and the police department remarkably have had to respond to protect the staff from residents and a member of the board from coming back, so that you aren't permitted to go where we used to walk in and out with, everybody knew everybody. It's now very structured. I commend Brian for imposing that discipline, because when you reach a point where you have to protect your employees from the residents and a member of the board, that's not business as usual. So in terms of what caused this, I don't think it's it may relate to a lack of confidence or an understanding of the value of this village government we have. But I think there's a more specific problem in that is being addressed in order to protect the staff. And so it isn't as though, what do we do next? There are already things that are being done, sadly, that were necessary, but I commend Brian for doing it and enforcing it. And maybe some of you on this call don't realize what has transpired, and also the efforts to address it on an actual working level to protect the people in the office.
thanks, Erica. Megan, do you have more you'd like to put out there? You're muted.
I can go next, but Greg, I think you just unmuted. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that it's a shame that that's happened, that structure. I understand the need for it. I was not aware of it, which I think is part of the issue. Is if there is a new structure in place in terms of how people interact with the village staff, I think there needs to be a concerted effort, an intentional effort to keep people informed, so we're aware that these are the steps we're taking because of the kind of environment that we're living in. And maybe I'm just not reading enough. I just didn't know about that structure. I applaud the effort, because I know after reading those letters of resignation and talking, of course, to Chrissy at one point, those are necessary steps. But I think the next step is to let people know why that's happening and what the forces are behind this environment of more structure, right? I think that's really important. I'm sorry. Okay, so Megan, thank you. Go ahead.
No, all good. Yeah, I mean, I will chime in that I don't know many of the details of what has been happening. I just know that there's been a toxic environment. So I don't know under what format we find out about that. Is it just the Facebook, like Mary said?
I can just cut through the uncertainty here. It's just that anyone seeking to enter the office area behind the doors now needs permission from Brian to do so. So that is the level of protection that's been added.
Okay. That is very unfortunate that we are needing to do that. And I guess I didn't know that they were being accosted, that the staff was being accosted in that way. So I guess coming back to, well, I addressed that part first. We absolutely have to fix that. I mean, that's just completely unacceptable. And not that we're discussing whether or not we should stay a village, but I think that if we're going to continue to be a village, we're going to absolutely have to address the toxicity, and how we do that is of utmost importance. However, I think what we're trying to focus on in this special meeting is the bonuses, and the pay. So to approach that piece of it, I do think that we need to be doing retention bonuses. I agree with Erica that they shouldn't have caveats and things attached to them. In my mind, these retention bonuses are basically saying, thank you for everything you have gone through. Like, you have already gone through a whole bunch of things, and this is to thank you for what you have been doing. And so to take some of it back or attach it to other things, is like, oh, we appreciated part of what you're doing, but not completely. I think it should just be like a point blank. Here you go. We really appreciate you. And then I like the idea of, seeing how long this goes on, and perhaps addressing this every 6 months until we get to a point where we feel like we have enough staff, everyone's adequately trained and up and running. And things are more steady state, so that doesn't need to continue. And that way it makes it a more discreet effort to resolve a situation, or not resolve, it's not going to resolve the toxicity, but it's to address and approach and express gratitude. And it just kind of is a discreet way of doing that. And so then the salary increases. I mean, if we're not able to keep people because we're not paying them enough, we have to pay them more. And I don't know what everyone else, Maple Bluff is doing, or any of the other villages, but what Winona is doing, but it seems very clear to me that if we are losing people, a piece of it is, salary related. So I wish I knew the numbers that were mentioned, and I'll reach out to the person who talked to me about it, and try to find out the cost, like per resident. But anyhow, I guess that's kind of a summary of my opinion.
Thanks, Megan. Thank you. Laura, we only have you for like 10 or 15 more minutes, right? So we gotta shake
Yeah.
it.
That's why I want to say this piece, because I feel like it's important. I cannot, I don't believe that Shabnam is the only issue, and I know that people are dancing around the idea of naming her. She is not the only issue, and I respectfully disagree that creating more structure to close off people coming in is the appropriate response to that situation. I read everything. I've talked to Shabnam, and I think if we're going to go really into this, like, we are a village that cares and talks about people, that our first response isn't police, and our first response isn't put up more formalized structures and barriers. Like that those two things are counterintuitive to me. And so while I do appreciate the idea that, Brian, you wanted to do something, and you want to do something in the moment to help, support your employees, I think that there are other ways to do that are in line with the more bringing people in and talking, and not pushing people out and continuing the divide. And I think we, in comments and in sort of saying that it's like, this is a person's responsibility, or one instance. Like, I would like to hear the other instances other than the terrible one on November 25th. Like, I think that is the anomaly, and that should be the anomaly. And if it is the anomaly, then we need to put it in its appropriate context. If November 25th is not an anomaly, then we need to know what the other instances are. But as it stands right now, we're treating November 25th as the thing that's been happening time after time after time. And if that's the case, then we need to address that. And so therefore, I cannot support, I do want to give them money. I really do. Like, I want it, but I cannot actually not my right mind. I can't in good conscience give money without a plan attached to it. And so I can't support that.
Laura, can I ask a clarifying question, I guess?
Absolutely, please.
So, stay bonuses were, and the whole concept of a bonus is a problem that is acting on the short term. It's like stop the bleeding, right? That's why there was a special meeting called last week. I mean, trying to get these bonuses out the door. Fixing the climate, the environment, whatever you want to call it, that is yes, let's start now, but it's a long-term process. So are you saying that you do not want to consider bonuses until we launch a comprehensive fix the environment process? Or,
Yeah.
how's that in your mind?
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm saying it doesn't have to be fixed, but I need to see evidence that it could be fixed. And I need to see evidence that there are processes in place to fix it. Right? So I'm not saying it has to be, like, it's not going to be an easy fix. I think we all agree with that. And I'm not saying you have to fix it, but traditionally what has happened is we say, oh yeah, that's a problem, we should get to that. And then it gets on a meeting, and then maybe it gets pushed off because another fire comes up, and then we should get to that. So I want it to be attached to something I want it to be attached to something that's really going to actually help support the staff in the environment. So whether that be a plan of action that Brian, notes, or whether that's a plan where we see which jobs are going where and how it's going to balance folks out. It's just too nebulous for me. It's just like, okay, we'll figure this out, but we haven't figured it out for the last 3 months. So what is going to make us figure it out right now? And also I want to say that in prior times, and Erica, this is for you specifically, when we were thinking about giving bonuses like a long time ago, you said giving bonuses is not the right way to do it because it sets a precedent for the future and there's an equity issue. And at the time I was like, no, it's fine, we can totally do it. But I just want to acknowledge that I understand now what you were trying to say way back then. And I'm not saying that that's not why we should do it, but I do want to acknowledge to you that I understand that this because now we're in that precedent again where we're keep giving bonuses, and now we have to think about the equity of everything and not fixing the problem, which is the system.
Thanks, Laura. Erica.
Just quickly, Laura, I don't favor performance bonuses given to a few people at the end of a year, because I think the year you don't get them, you suffer. I mean, I'd maintain that. This is very different. I can tell you, I came back from a trip last night, and I responded to a couple of things, one from Julie and one from Brian that I received during the trip. They responded to me last night at 10:00 p.m. We're in a triage situation. When you talk about holding off and making a decision once you have some plan in place, I think you're overlooking the fact that the house is on fire. And there's a very real possibility that one or both of those people is going to leave. They're going to leave if you allow people to go back and berate them. They're going to leave if they have to be working at 10:00 at night. This is like 4-alarm. And that's why the more I have thought about this issue this morning, I'm more convinced that we aren't talking about retention bonuses. We're talking about gratitude for standing in there, knowing, frankly, how fragile the situation is, that they may be looking as we speak. And one way that the bonuses, if you want to call them bonuses, it's a reward for standing in there and taking the artillery fire and doing all this extra work and being there at 10:00 at night answering me, and hoping that has some residual effect of encouraging them to think, I'm appreciated for what I'm doing. I think I want to hang around because I trust the village is trying to solve this problem.
Yeah, I agree. I hear that. I just disagree.
Well, all right. Does everybody feel like they've had does anybody have any other comment? Mary?
I just had one comment, and in in this day and age of technology, which I use every day and I love and I'm thankful for it, I do think that having board meetings by Zoom, or I guess that they're on Facebook too, which I don't use Facebook for a whole variety of reasons, has put up a wall for these conversations. And so I don't know, I know there was an incident with Shabnan. I found out about those like 2 weeks ago. So that is not what this is all about to me. I just have watched and heard, and a lot of this is second and third hand, but it's the Sweetbriar situation, it's Logic, it's the recall of John Imes. All these things all get messed up together. And there just seems to be a we, they, and I don't even know who we and they are anymore. But right now, having gone down to the village hall every day just to get all the absentee ballots out, because you have 24 hours to get them out after somebody requests one, there's just not enough physical bodies to do all the work. So that's what I'm saying. If there's multiple issues going on.
Thank you, Mary. So if I can summarize in a way that might help us to move forward and do our job for the board here, I think what I've heard is we need three things. We need appreciation for what has already been happening, appreciation for the staff and what they've been dealing with. We need some kind of incentive to stay. We need some kind of activity launched at least to address the work environment. I mean, work environment is kind of linked, as Mary just said, to the whole Village of Shorewood Hills environment. I mean, there's angst. We had, as I've been calling it, two major scandals last year. You know, we had Sweetbriar and we had Logic. You know, just everybody is on edge. So does everybody agree we should address 1, 2, and 3? Thank you, Bonus. Please stay, Bonus. Got to do something about the climate. So yeah, Greg.
And I have in my notes the hourly question. Do we want to increase the hourly rate? Or are you tying that to the reasons to stay? I didn't want
Yes,
to lose
that's
that
good.
point.
That's a good thing. Good point. I think I would personally, I mean, we can discuss. Personally, I would take Mary's advice there and say that if we're going to adjust base, that we need to have a good idea of our competition and the whole grid, and think carefully about that before we go making a recommendation to the board. Seems like that one, I mean, others can interject, but that's what I heard there. So this leaves us in I mean, we got three big things to figure out, and Laura is going to have to jump off. So we're only going to have the 5 of us left. Laura, any last comments before you leave?
No, thank you all. And I'm happy to talk with anyone at any point about my thoughts and ideas, and keep going and keep listening and thinking and being open.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate you being here. All right. So amounts of money. This is what the board will be looking for. Yeah, Erica.
Yeah, might we hear from Brian? Brian's had a chance to absorb all of this, and Brian, I don't want to put you on the spot, but and you've had the enviable task of trying to manage this problem. Is there anything that's been said that strikes you as helpful or not helpful?
No, I think this was a very good conversation. I appreciate everybody sharing their background and rationales for why they would support things and what caveats need to be considered and included. I guess maybe for context, although I didn't have a whole heck of a lot of time to dedicate to where these starting points of the wage adjustments came from. Since I've been here, I've repeatedly heard that our closest comparable is Maple Bluff. Maple Bluff right now, and I attribute this in some respects to perhaps my unfortunate task of asking Chrissy to get the wage information from Maple Bluff, but we're off considerably right now from our peers across the lake. I would say at a base point right now, we are probably 15% off position across the board on a comparable basis to the same positions in Maple Bluff from a compensation annual standpoint. So, Chrissy found out when I asked her to do that task that she got a promotion here and found out she's making less than her colleague across the lake in her old position that she just vacated to stay with the village. And I think that might have been one of the dominoes to start the issues that have we've been facing the last couple of weeks now. But that was just sort of, this is where we are. I know we cannot fix that. We are tied to levy limits. I don't have the abilities to snap my fingers and make these adjustments. So there's going to have to be more comprehensive planning involved in making those, if we are planning to come into alignment or match or beat or however you guys want to decide. But I think it's inherently tied to the other points that were made today is, do we want to stay a village? I mean, if there is going to be constant opposition to every proposal that's brought forward for the foreseeable future, that's demoralizing for staff because we are continuously asked to bring great ideas forward, do tons of research only to find at the finish line we're about to cross, the pushback comes and then it's shot down and months and weeks of work and research and prep time was for naught. So having that answer, I think will really, just like it did with the police ad hoc, I really think that helped to provide some clarity and directional focus as to where we go, knowing that the support was there to have a police force. And, as far as staff environment, workplace morale, some of the issues that are going on, this is not just a unique environment to the administrative office. I think this is a local government problem. I don't think it's even unique necessarily to Shorewood Hills, although we are in the midst of a mighty struggle. What I can tell you that I've working on and been working on, and I wish Laura was still here to hear this. The last few weeks, I've been communicating with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities about the sense of urgency behind getting somebody to come out to explain better the local government process, how this environment works, how meeting structures are handled to hold consistent, proper meetings, civil meetings, when it's appropriate to ask questions, when that period has closed, when you can challenge an individual during a meeting on something like these are all I've seen over the course of my tenure here. We go back and forth. Sometimes we allow it, sometimes we stop it. And I think there's an inconsistency element to this that is causing some of the friction within the public right now. So I'd really like somebody who represents the state. It's coming from someone outside of the office to explain to the residents, explain to the board, and explain to the staff how these properly are done, consistent with state rules, consistent with other municipalities, and how other municipalities who might be facing these challenges have found pathways through and forward to get to some point of resolution. But I mean, inherent to the whole discussion is we need to understand it's a retention issue for the staff is also the knowledge that is we are committed to maintaining this as a village, a municipality, freestanding municipality for the future. I mean, that will be a big piece of solidifying the staff movement. The other piece is, I mean, we really need to just have a comprehensive conversation about the tasks and what the administrative staff members are doing right now, and how that is, I don't want to choose my words. We need to make sure that it's a sustainable environment and a reasonable expectation of work for each individual, I think, before you're going to get a solid commitment out of people staying. I've been honest in telling people this has been a challenging role. It is not a 5-day a week, 40-hour a week job. Let's just put it that way. But I knew that when I signed up. I wasn't prepared for how much additional time and commitment I need to put in to do this job sufficient to the standards that this community asks for. And I do truly feel that others also feel that way right now. And that is a missing piece in the conversation of how and whether people will want to make this a long-term work relationship.
Thanks, Brian. I'm gonna also invite Julie if she wants to comment.
Sorry, took me a few clicks there. I agree that this was a very good conversation. It was good to hear everyone. I appreciate that everyone is supportive of staff. I do understand that. I am concerned at this point. I don't know how to word it. I'm not sure. I know we need to adjust pay. I'm concerned that we have not received a lot of interest in the job that we posted, and especially from people who basically we need someone who has municipal experience. I have very, very large concerns about future staffing, and I don't know what Brian and I have discussed this. It's like we need a solution. How can we fix this? If we can't get right now, if we can't get our base staff running, I mean, we're like a Jenga tower right now. And most of the pieces have already been pulled. We're barely hanging on there. We're just balancing. It's going to take one more piece pulled out and the whole thing's going to come down. So I don't want to be like yelling fire in a theater kind of thing. I do think we need to, I know today, it's not today's discussion. We need to look at what we are expecting from staff. We need to look at and this is not personnel committee, maybe you can make recommendations to the board, but things, you know, the expectation for staff to always work outside of normal hours, more so than when we hire people, we tell them you're expected to do at least one, depending on the position, 1 or 2 nights a month. And it's more than that. Just the workload, the expectation that people could come in and once we're fully staffed, what's the problem? You have 4 bodies in the office, 4 bodies that don't necessarily have the training necessary, even with a background. So I'm concerned about attracting candidates. I think if we do some kind of wage adjustment, it may help, but I also, as a finance director, as Brian said, I don't see the village being able to honestly provide that without looking at much bigger issues. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit, but I'm really concerned that it's kind of too little too late. I'm hoping that we can stabilize things, but I'm definitely concerned at the moment.
So, if I could put to Brian and Julie, which of the things that our committee needs to tackle today do you view as being most urgent for today? For this week, the staff, how are staff feeling this week? What is the thing that, I mean, how do we stop the bleeding? Is it the thank you bonus? Is it a stay bonus? And I actually kind of agree with Gloria that if we're offering a stay bonus, there needs to be some clawback, because the idea is that it's to help you make the decision to stay. So that, I mean, thank you bonus, stay bonus with clawback. And then looking at the long-term salary issue, which is going to take longer to figure out and will have repercussions for the whole staff. As Brian mentioned, it's not just the admin staff at that point. It becomes the whole shebang, which is impact on budget. So I mean, I'm kind of looking like an auctioneer looking for an opening bid. I mean, what's the size of a thank you bonus? I don't know. Is that the $5,000 that Brian originally put out there as a stay bonus? Should that be the thank you bonus? So that would be 15 grand upfront, no strings attached.
I'd make that motion if you were prepared to entertain it.
I'm prepared. I'm
Speaking,
prepared to entertain.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have Erica moves. Oh, Julie, you are taking minutes, yeah?
Yeah, but what is the actual motion?
Okay, I'm gonna try and state it. So Erica moves, Mary seconds,
Okay,
recommend to the village board lump sum appreciation bonuses to the admin staff, Mooney, Fitzgerald, and Ballinger, of $5,000 each.
okay.
Yeah. So that, okay, so that is on the table.
do I understand correctly that that was Brian's recommendation? However, it
Not
was,
exactly. I mean, his recommendation came with some strings attached. There were some clawback at various time milestones.
but the money, the numbers were the same for all three people in the recommendation that,
Yeah. But then
I
his-
think to the extent that he was suggesting a retention bonus, and I'm not offering that as a motion for retention bonus. Although I hope it has that ultimate effect. It's really looking at, thank you for what you are doing now. Well, thank you for this effort. So
It's just
it doesn't include a clawback.
That's right. This is just thank you bonus. Depending on what happens with this or how our discussion goes, we'll move on to retention bonus after that.
So to recommend to the board a lump sum appreciation bonus to the administration staff, Mooney, Fitzgerald, Ballinger, of $5,000 each. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
that's the motion. So let's discuss. Should it be the same for Ballinger as for our senior staff? I think that's a reasonable question because senior staff have been working harder for longer, definitely longer than Katie. I know
I would
Katie,
be comfortable with changing it and making it distinguishing Katie's amount from the amount that we give to Brian and Julie.
yep. So 2,500 for Katie? Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Do you think that is not going to be a slap in the face or a reason for? Don't
She's
wanna-
only been there, she's been there a few weeks. There's a great deal she doesn't know in terms of what she has a nice attitude, but in terms of what she can contribute and has contributed, it really pales in comparison to what Julie and Brian have been doing.
Okay. So shall we amend? Everybody okay with amending the motion for 5,000, 5,000 and 2,500? Okay. Okay, any further discussion on this motion?
Carol, can I just offer the suggestion that I know Gloria is still with us, and I know we're outside of public comment, but I mean, given the fact that she put together this draft, is it possible that if she has any comments to offer, that she could make any suggestions or any with a commission?
Absolutely.
Okay to that?
Absolutely. Gloria, please, if you've got comments.
Sure. Yeah, so I want to address the math that has actually been talked about. The math was not done to insult the staff. I like Brian Mooney and Julie Fitzgerald quite a lot. I think they know this. I work with them regularly. The math was done because I'm on the finance committee and we are approaching a structural deficit that is going to begin in 2027. Brian Mooney knows this. Julie Fitzgerald knows this. Everyone on finance, many people out of finance, the board definitely knows this. So I approach this from a money perspective because the money really does matter. The math does matter. And I also thought that from the perspective of public opinion, when you are putting forward something with 10% or 20% wage increases, it really doesn't mean anything to people. But to assign hard dollars to it, it gives somebody some understanding of what this is going to cost. And that really does matter in terms of budgets. But to a point, I don't remember who made the point. It was an excellent point. One of the things I really worried about with this, with Brian's proposal, Brian, no offense, but with this wage adjustment that was linked to onboarding new staff and getting to 100% admin plus the onboarding of that staff, one of the things I worried about was that cliff, once that has been satisfied, who's going to go to the staff and say, oh, okay, now we're going to, your paycheck's going to reduce now. I really did not like that idea at all because that doesn't seem fun when you get used to having a paycheck and now, oh, bummer, we have to reduce that. That seems really not great. So the option that I pulled together that really Laura Stevenson, the way she talked about let's fix the problem. Greg Lampe was talking about that. Let's fix the problem. Let's understand what the problem here is and let's address it during this retention period. Laura and Greg, you captured that perfectly. I wish I'd talked to you beforehand so that you could have given me cliff notes on this. But option 4 was to somehow really say to Brian and Julie, please don't leave us. Please don't. We need you. And here is a lump sum upfront retention bonus to hopefully make it attractive enough for you to hang on with us for a little bit longer and give us 12 months to really dive into this and address the problem. But the thing that's missing from the package, I think from the personnel committee, from what I saw, is a dollar for dollar comparison. So for example, I worked up, and this is napkin math. Julie, you would have to really go through this and really understand what this means. But option 1, which was Brian Mooney's package that he presented, overall has a cost of $50,000 for the village. Option 2 has a cost of $48,000 for the village. Option 3 had a cost of $31,500. We'll call it $31,500 total cost for the village. And option 4 that I worked up, that was 12-month retention package, has a total cost of $55,500 for the village. And those numbers are not meant to offend anyone, but I had the feeling that if we could give Mr. Mooney and Ms. Fitzgerald a substantial upfront bonus, but it's a retention bonus, to ask them, please We are grateful for you. We do want you to stay. And here is some really serious money upfront to make this worth it to you. Please to hang on with us for the next 12 months, and also give a different bonus to Ms. Ballinger. Please hang on with us till the end of this year because she's already started onboarding. She seems like a very pleasant addition. That would cost our village $55,500. What I haven't done is run that up against the budget because I didn't have all that money in front of me. I didn't have those numbers in front of me. But this is what the cost would be, the estimated cost. And while it might be insulting to attach a dollar number to the value of our employees, that's the nature of having employees. That always happens. And I feel like give them an upfront retention bonus because what are we trying to achieve? We want them to not go away. In order for them not to go away, yes, we need to express gratitude. Having a retention bonus inherently expresses gratitude, but it also it gets the village a commitment that these folks are going to stay for a period of time so that we can use that time to address the toxicity, and we can use that time to smooth over and fill in our ranks and get people trained. So that's the comment I would make. I don't think retention bonuses are bad. It happens all the time. UW-Madison does this all the time. But I do think it should be a retention bonus, not a wage increase. And I think it should be upfront to make it interesting enough for Brian Mooney and Julie Fitzgerald to take a good look and say, that's interesting. Do I want to do this or not?
Thanks. Thank you, Gloria. Thanks very much. I believe we had Mary and then Erica and then Julie.
So I was just trying to figure out whether Gloria was speaking to the motion on the floor or all the options.
My thought, my comments, if I could address that, please, is listening to the committee as a body discussing with the different people coming in with what their concerns are, what their thoughts are about the option was really just to fill in there. The motion that's on, I personally disagree with it because I think it's too little. I mean, to have a motion of $5,000, I think it's really insignificant.
The motion on the table is only for appreciation bonus, and I'm intending to offer or encourage a motion after that for retention bonus. So this is not the whole thing. Erica, did you have a question? You're muted, Erica. Sorry.
I was just trying to figure out how you put your hand up with those little hand things. I've never known how to do that. So
it's under React, I believe. Yeah.
I could react. Oh, there I am. Okay, thank you. I've gained knowledge to this. I think that all I'm interested in, and that's motion I thought was quite clear, is a quick offer of cash with no strings attached to say, you've done extraordinary work, thank you. This, in no way do I view this as equal to what has been done. It's really a gesture. It's not more than a gesture. When we reach the point of talking about what we do about retention, some retention activity, I can tell you that I will still be opposed to trying to kind of offer this carrot and stick where if we give you some money, we're going to be watching to see if you leave and then we're going to take some of it back. My view is if you want to think about retention, put that money at the end of it so you're not clawing anything back. You're conveying it at the time that whatever time period you've set has been completed. Putting it in and then essentially you're getting so many dollars a month for participating. Frankly, if somebody had a chance to take a job, I gather in Maple Bluff, they'd make more money. It's hardly an incentive when your salary structure is lower than everybody else. It's not going to keep anybody. It would be yet another way to say thank you for staying, not we're paying you to stay. And if you don't stay, we're clawing it back. So thank you.
Thanks, Erica. Julie.
So I did, this is kind of, I know this is necessarily to this motion, but in response to what Gloria was saying, as the finance person, it is important to look at all the finances. I 100% agree. It is called out, just so you know, on Gloria's sheets that this is, the numbers we're throwing around here are wages only. We are required to apply our retirement, our retirement fees to this. Any wages. So just so you are aware, the village is also adding 6.9% as part of the benefit package, as well as FICA, you know, the village's share of our Social Security and Medicare. So when we're, keep that in mind that this, when, if we're making suggestions, what we're talking is wages only, there is going to be a slightly higher cost to the village. On the flip side, also keep in mind, we currently have 2 positions open that we are not paying any wages or benefits for. So when we're saying it's going to cost the village 50,000, 40,000, 30,000, keep in mind that's not above our current budget because we're not paying people in that. It's offsetting that cost. So to complicate things, but it's, I don't want people to think that we're going to go 50,000 above budget, 30,000 above budget. First of all, those numbers aren't accurate. It would be slightly more for the amount, but it's not necessarily above budget. It's balancing out the staff that we are not paying. So,
Thank you, Julie. Yeah, salary savings, important part.
yeah.
So maybe to help people think about this two motion process, what we have on the table is an appreciation or thank you bonus of 5K, 5K, and 2.5K with no clawback, no strings attached. And then in the next motion, I'm going to propose actual retention bonuses with complete clawback if people leave within 6 months, a year, of 15, 15, and 7.5K. And that would bring us up, the whole package then would be approximately 50K, just like all the other packages we've been looking at. So does everybody understand what I'm trying to delineate here? Yeah, Mary.
Trying to unmute here. I do understand that concept, and I just also, I think I support that second motion. I'd like to vote on the first one. I support your second one, but I do within that want to look at what that means long-term. And I think that may mean that that has to go back to Julie and Brian to really figure out within the revenue limits that we have right now, would that force, I mean, are you forcing a grid change that we can absorb? Okay, so that, just explain that when we get there.
There's still just bonuses. Okay, so let's go back to the motion on the table, which is an appreciation or thank you bonus with no strings attached, 5K, 5K, and 2.5K. So is everybody ready to vote on that one, to approve, to recommend to the village board? Yep, okay, let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that motion carries. All right, the next motion, I'm gonna describe it and see if anybody wants to propose it and second it, is to recommend to the board retention bonuses for Mooney, Fitzgerald, and Ballinger in the amounts of 15,000, 15,000, and 7,500 to be repaid in the event that they leave, to be repaid in full in the event that they leave, let's say in within a year. And we can, like, I'll, entertain friendly amendments and we can fine tune that, but that's the motion. Would somebody like to make that motion? Mary, thank you, Mary. Any second? Anybody second the motion? Yep, thank you, Megan. All right. Let's discuss the amounts, the term. Yes, Erica.
I want to speak to I'm in favor of a retention bonus, but I'm in favor of I'm opposed to the clawback notion. So my approach would be to establish amount that will be the retention bonus to be paid at the end of the period if in fact we've retained the person. So we will have paid out nothing if somebody stays for 2 months or 3 months, which would be different than a clawback situation where you're dribbling the money out month by month, but it would establish an incentive for somebody to hang around long enough to get that bonus. Presumably a time period that would be enough for very realistically believe that we will have righted the ship within that period. And I think 6 months is not unreasonable. 8 months is not unreasonable. As to the amounts, I don't feel strongly about your numbers. I would be equally comfortable with 10, 10, and 5, for example. I'd be happy to have somebody else run those numbers to see, that would be a $25,000 commitment as opposed to yours, which would be what, 37.5 or something. But I guess if nobody's figured it out yet, I'm not crazy about clawback, but I do see a reason to say there is a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow if you'll stick with us for some period of time when we believe we can get this ship righted.
Thanks, Erica. Other comments? Other comments at all? I mean, I guess I will offer the alternative logic to what Erica just gave, which is that if you offer the retention bonus up front, they can start spending it now and feel better about life right now. They just have to stay or else they have to pay it back. So, it wouldn't be dribbled out. It would be a lump up front. Here's your check for, $15K. We want you to stay. Please stay.
Does that math work in terms of the clawback? If you put 15,000, which you're proposing, Carol, out and you hand that to somebody and they leave after a month, where's the employee's money that pays you back? I don't know that they're earning enough to pay you back 13,000, say. Does the math work?
So you're worried about the logistics or the likelihood that people can
Can you
pay?
even claw it back? Is it feasible? And I mean, that ought to be one consideration, but if I knew that if I stayed at a job for 6 months or 8 months, I had $10,000 or $15,000 waiting for me, that would be a powerful incentive to stay.
So I think we've already in the village run up against the problem of clawback and people can't pay it back right away. Julie or Brian, can you enlighten us as to what was done? Is this an installment plan?
I can let Julie speak to the payback, clawback provisions and how those have been implemented. The one thing I would like to say, though, regardless of what motions are recommended for referral to the board, after we're done here, I still think it's wise for me to forward each of those on to our village attorney to take a look at. There might be issues as far as, I mean, I work under a contract right now, and so I don't know how this impacts like a overlay contract on top of a contract. Like, I don't know the specifics, legalities of that. Some of this also might throw, us into different kind of pay categories of things that we're not even thinking about that we might move into realms of from how much we're paying out at given time. So I don't, let's have him advise us on some of that. And let me refer over to Julie now so she can speak to the police payback.
So we have, over the last couple of years, we have used both state sign-on bonuses, retention, and basically a retention type bonus for our police officers, and we still have had several police officers leave. The way our current contract that we have people sign is they have three options. They can pay it back, one through payroll deductions, which is helpful, except for most people give a 2-week notice. So that's one check and it doesn't really help. And so unless they're giving us long-term notice, all of these have very different ramifications for both the village and the staff. I'll talk about each one. The second one is just a lump sum payback when they leave or within 30 days of when they leave. And the third option is we do a signed payback agreement. So I have yet to have anyone choose the first option of a deduction from their paycheck because the final paycheck, they give 2-week notice, the final paycheck, it doesn't work. There's advantages to this, because if we do it as part of a paycheck, basically we're doing it as a negative pay, but it also pulls back our ETF or our retirement contributions, the WRS contributions. So the village does get some of that money back, but the employee loses that money. If they're not vested, it doesn't matter because they don't get the employer part anyway. But if they are vested, it can take back some of that money. So that's something that both employees and employer need to consider the ramifications of that. The other two are basically, they make payments to us. However, we've had some where like, the police were paid out over several months. We did $1,000 per paycheck instead of a lump sum 5,000. So it didn't affect their taxes as much. But if we're proposing a $15,000 lump sum check, realistically, that the employee is going to get cash in hand, ballparking, half that we're going to get because of the tax implications. I can't talk this morning. So if an employee gets, let's just say if you do 15, the employee gets 8, and they leave within a few months, they're actually going to have to pay back more than what they got in cash, although they did get the benefits. And what they pay back does not come off their taxes because it's paid back as a check. It's not, so we'd be showing a $15,000 increase in income, but the money you pay back does not lower your income. So that's something that I can't even think about that, the whole thing of that, but that's definitely something that would affect employee decisions too. And if we expect someone to pay things back. So that's why with Eric, I understand with Erica's at the end, that is helpful it's like, you got to wait till the end. But honestly, I don't know what's going to be the most tempting to people. Everyone has their own tax situations. Everyone has their own life situations, but I just wanted to throw those out there.
Thanks, Julie. Mary.
So I guess 2 of the 3 people that would be affected are on this Zoom call. Tell us what you think.
Honestly, I don't know. I'm very appreciative of everything you're discussing. The thought of dealing, like what I was saying with the tax implications and stuff and the clawbacks. God, I shouldn't even be saying this in public. I don't know if I would have signed the agreement. So.
Okay. And because of the tax implications and
the requirement, I can't yeah.
Okay.
And I am not ungrateful for what you are trying to do. I appreciate it very much. I want to be clear to that. But I'm not sure if it's going to have the effect that we're looking for.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Julie. Erica.
There is one more option as opposed to the clawback piece that you mentioned, Carol, and the end of the rainbow piece that I did. And that would be to take the figure and pay it out on a monthly basis for whatever the duration is. So for example, if you decided that you wanted to give, I'm just making up numbers, but 12,000 to Brian and Julie as a retention bonus, you could pay it out at $1,000 a month for 12 months. You'd never have the clawback issue. You would not have a bolus of one big hot year where you got $12,000. But in fact, there would be an incentive. It wouldn't be tied to a change of salary, but in fact, it would be a retention bonus paid over time. But it would not involve clawback, because once the month was over, you had achieved what it was we were attempting to accomplish with the retention bonus. The other thought that occurred to me is, because of the complexity of this, and that Julie has very wisely pointed out, really, do we address the immediate issue with our first motion today? Get this money out the door to these people and defer this, whether it goes to finance or it goes to the board or whatever they want to do to send us more direction, given the fact we've really taken what originally came to us as a retention bonus off the table for the day, solving it with the thank you bonus. It may be that there are enough questions about this and enough thinking that needs to be done that it doesn't have to be, we don't have to have that motion today. We can have it next week. That's a perspective thing, not because we've handled the immediate thing today.
So I see your point, Erica. The most urgent thing we've already approved to recommend. I want to do as much of the board's work as we can, if you know what I mean. Those board meetings are long and there's lots to think about. They're contentious sometimes. So I guess I'd like to push on the retention bonus a little more so that we have more to recommend. And it's going to have to go to our attorney, and it's going to go to the board, and it might even get sent to finance before all is said and done. I see the logic behind the pot of gold strategy. I see the logic behind the pay it out with each pay period strategy, although that does leave you with the cliff at the end where, oh, suddenly my pay goes back down again. And I see the logic of Gloria's first of her recommendation, that it just be utterly clawed back if people leave, 100%. But Julie has highlighted the very real problems with that, logistic problems. So so it's, in my mind, it's either pay in installments or pay at the end, given what Julie has told us. Would anybody like to make a motion? Mary?
Carol, I think we have to either vote on the one that's on the table
We
or
already did. We approved that one.
the one that we just made.
Oh, I'm sorry. We approved the thank you bonus. We
Right.
have a motion from Mary, and you're right, and a second from Megan for retention bonus with complete clawback. Do we want to amend that is the question, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I would amend that. And
Sure.
the one that makes the most sense to me is the monthly installment. I think that the three people would have to know there's a cliff at the end. And hopefully within the next 10 months, we do take a look at the grid and maybe, and we also have to be very cognizant of the money that the village has and whether we can make that money work in a better way. I don't know the ins and outs of that at this point, but revenue limits are real. And so I think if we have the money to do the 12-month payments, and we have to realize that if, let's say we're full staffed in a month, can we handle that bonus over the next 10 months? And I trust that the village will do it on the right payroll process. And so that would be my amendment, is that we do it over the next 10 months. And if someone leaves, obviously they're not going to get it any further. And that it's with a letter that really says, thanks, and we hope you stay. And I think, Julie and Brian, I hope you really understand we want you to stay.
I have a question for Julie, and that is, Julie, is there any reason why that, let's pick let's assume it's $1,000. I'm for one of another number. Is that something that necessarily has to go through payroll, or can you process a $1,000 payment once a month so that it isn't a salary? It doesn't look like salary, but in fact, it comes out on the first of the month or whatever, like a bill that you pay, so that I'm not even thinking of you and Brian. You're too much part of this conversation to be fooled by this, but I'm thinking something like Katie getting a check that is discrete, that says this is your bonus, as opposed to, ooh, I just have, my payroll's affected. It may be you don't have that luxury, but if you do, and further, are you with the bonus, are you pulled into FICA and other things that need to be understood by the group, and I assume agreed to, that FICA is implicated. So I'm not saying this because I know the answers. I'm just knowing you know the answers.
So I can double check this, but in checking with the first time, in previous bonuses we've done, as a rule, anything that's tied to employment, according to the IRS, is taxable income. They purposefully take away those loopholes as much as possible. So as an employee, yeah, it would have to be treated as income, so it would be taxable. I mean, we always have, as far as personally, we can always try to do certain things to alleviate that, like you could put it into your deferred comp so that you don't pay other taxes. But as far as the employer side, we're still going to have to pay FICA, we're still going to have to pay retirement. And just so you guys know, it is awkward being one of the people affected and being here, but I am approaching this solely as the finance director at this point and trying to explain how it implicates things for the village. But yeah, it would have to be pay.
Thanks, Julie. Now, we appreciate you being here because we are a small village. We're only talking about 3 people. We really want to retain, conflict of interest is, it's all in the public. Everybody knows who you are. We're doing our best to address the situation. So, Greg.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I really appreciate, Julie, that you're helping us figure out the consequences of what we're going to do in terms of taxation and impact on the employee. That's my chief concern. I like the idea of retention bonuses. I would support Mary's take on this, 10 months, whatever the amount is, $1,000 a month. My mantra in my head is do the least harm for the most good. And I see this incremental strategy as a good, because there is a cliff at the end, and we were well aware of that. But I like that month-to-month reward for staying, and I think that achieves the goal, or that we're trying to make, and that is keep people and reward them for staying. And I like the incremental basis of that. I mean, we could do a sliding scale for that matter. I'm thinking out loud, but you could start at 1,000 and then the second month go up a little bit, and then you could actually increase over time the incentive to stay over time. Anyway, it's
Greg, you're freezing. Greg.
May I fill in the space while we thaw him?
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, just want you to know, Greg, we didn't hear a good deal of what you said, so maybe after Erica speaks, you could turn off your camera and we'll try again. Yeah, okay, thanks. Erica, go ahead.
Just in terms of putting dollars on this, I wonder if you all as movers and seconders would consider making it, going back to Carol's initial suggestion of 15, 15, and 75. With that, the amount, understanding that that will end up closing to netting people what we have in mind, which is like 1,000. And I do remember, because we always gave Christmas bonuses at where I ran the office, and we always ran it with FICA. I mean, we did withholding. It was Christmas bonus, but it subject to, all the requirements. So it's like, I'm not unaware of that. But so if I would hope you would favorably consider making the motion 15,000 paid out over 10 months, or 7,500 paid out over 10 months, subject to the village attorney's approval. And well, presumably the board would do, this is simply a recommendation to the board. They can do whatever they want.
Okay. Greg, do we want to come back to you so you can make sure we hear what you were saying?
Yeah, I hope you can you hear me now?
We hear.
I'll just summarize what I said, because I said it in a long drawn out way. I support what Mary's saying, and Erica as well, with
Oh no. Oh no, Greg, we lost him again. Anybody have any tech savvy recommendations here? No.
At this point, you might just want to put it into the chat.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was going to recommend as well.
awesome, Greg, thank you. While he's doing that, Megan.
Okay, so a couple things. I need to go because I'm actually already late for another meeting, but didn't want to leave this one. But two things. One, is there a way for us to find out, and I don't like this phrasing, but I can't think of another way to say it, how much the village has saved so far by not paying the empty positions? I think if we had that dollar amount, like whatever it is per 2 weeks, per month, it might make it easier to show that this is not what the numbers that we're talking about are not going to throw the budget. And I think that would be really helpful, both for us to know, for us to help parse out like what the dollar amounts, what can we do? And then also would help the board have some concrete evidence of like, this is actually not costing you money, this is saving you money, or at least breaking even, and then has the additional benefit of keeping the fabulous staff that we have. So that's one of my questions, and I don't know where we would how we gather that information or who we talk to about that. But then this oh shoot, I didn't write down my other question. All right, never mind. I don't remember what my other question was, so I'll have to, if I think of it, I'll let y'all know. Oh, I guess just real quickly, like, so if I need to leave, is that, I know we need to vote on this motion. How does that work?
Might be close. Let's give it a go. Let's say.
And also, sorry, Brian didn't get a chance to give us his opinion when we asked Julie and Brian what they thought of these. Brian didn't have a chance to chime in.
Brian, would you like to?
Sure. I'll just be quick. I mean, I'm super appreciative of everything that everyone's trying to do here for us. My main concern, as more or less the figurehead of the village here, is the worry in my gut that I sign something, Julie leaves, and I have, been entrusted to lead 4 new employees that have no municipal experience out of this, where things start getting missed, and then the fingers start getting pointed back at me as the problem. I am genuinely worried about that, because I just don't have this specialized training to get through bringing new people on board with the specialized skills of a finance director, a clerk for elections administration, and bill payments, and all of the various exchanges that Julie currently runs for the village, like our ETF payments and Department of Revenue, and unemployment, and all of the other various things that are just lost in the sea of all the things that she does right now. I just don't know. I don't want anyone to think that there will not be problems if that situation arises. There still will be, and it'll be immensely stressful to try to hold that together.
We are actually experiencing these problems now with both Chrissy and Nicole departing at the same time. Things are starting to fall through the cracks. We're doing our best to keep things running. I want to let the personnel committee know this and the village as a whole. We're doing our best. We're working lots of hours. We're trying to get everything done, but things are falling through the cracks now. We are in a critical stage right now. Just I want everyone to be aware of that.
Thank you both. Thank you both. This is the whole point here. Do you both feel that we're missing it, that this whole thing is not right-sized, that this is just penny wise and pound foolish? I mean,
I think you're doing what you have in your arsenal. I think it's an excellent idea. I think it will probably help. But I don't know how that's going. I don't know how it's going to help us get experienced staff, and we are, but it's like almost too late for that. I mean, we're already hiring. We're in the hiring stages, but I'm concerned about, we need people who have municipal experience. We've seen over and over, yes, you can come in and have accounting experience and you can do a lot of the deputy clerk position. But as far as the clerk position, we need someone who knows open meetings, who knows how to respond to open records requests, somebody who knows how to look things up in the statute and make recommendations as a staff member to help guide the rest of the administrative staff and the board to provide legal options. It's like, hey, that'd be great to do. Let's do it. And then after the fact, uh-oh. So I'm concerned about attracting qualified people now. And I honestly, I don't know if there's anything the personnel committee can do about that. But if someone out there has ideas,
well,
that's my biggest concern right now.
what about the bonus that we haven't been talking about then, which is hiring bonuses? Should we be focused on that, especially for the clerk position?
Possibly that there would be a hiring bonus if they have a minimum of, I mean, I would want somebody with at least 5 years of experience, because there's no support staff for them in a village this size. And our support, I mean, Brian and I will help as much as we can, but we need someone who can jump in and do the job so we can handle our other priorities. So I mean, I would think we'd have to set the bar at least 5 years of experience to get a bonus.
What kind of a bonus, everybody?
And I don't know if that's something we can discuss. I mean, because this is
Yeah, well,
this is
hopefully we
retention
can
only,
phrase
but
it-
possibly the board.
Yeah, this will go to the board, and hopefully that agenda item can be framed to include hiring bonuses. based.
Well, also Brian has some authority to decide where on the grid to put a candidate, and a candidate with 5 years of experience presumably would land at far to the right on the grid. And to the extent that you see a problem coming with that where a bonus is necessitated, it seems to me we could meet on very short notice. If we're called upon to do that, it may be the board will end up doing it directly.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Erica. Hang on, Megan and then Mary.
I was just gonna say I've got to go. So I think hiring bonuses are a fascinating topic as well, and I think that we should be looking at that, and we should put morale and like what we can do about that, and also so that we have a plan in place so people know that we're addressing that, and we should put salary increases and how we go about doing that to stay within, Brian was explaining like the limits of what we can do. So I think those two things need to be added to future agendas. And unfortunately, that probably means because this is so important and because everything's falling through the cracks, that we probably need to put the manual to the side and address this stuff. So those would be my two pieces of feedback, and then I really have to go. So
Thank you, Megan.
Can we
Thank-
just vote on the motion while Megan's still here?
We still have 4. We still have a quorum of 4. I don't know which is better, to vote or to let Megan go. She's got to go. Are we ready to vote?
or late for my other meeting, so.
Yeah, sorry, Megan's got to go. We still got 4. I think we can manage. Thank
Okay.
you.
Sorry.
So the motion on the floor right now is that we provide the 7,500 paid out over the next 10 months if it fits within the budget of the village board and is approved by the lawyers. Is
Julie,
that
does
correct?
that work, Julie? You're muted, Julie.
Okay, so we're changing a previous motion, and it currently says, excuse me, sorry. Okay, the amount of 15 to be paid out. This is the part of the change over the next 10 months, provided it is, I'm sorry, Mary, can you finish that?
You know what? I think the board can even finish that. We're just
Yeah.
making a recommendation. They'll figure out consulting with the lawyer and all of that stuff.
Okay, to be paid out over the next 10 months, is there any kind of, in the event they leave that we had on the first motion, we're just removing that portion?
I did not put that on.
Okay.
I think the idea is to go with the monthly payout as part of the paycheck.
Okay, so to recommend to the board retention bonuses for Mooney, Fitzgerald, and Ballinger in the amounts of 15,000, 15,000, 7.5 thousand to be paid out over the next 10 months.
Yes.
And I think to be paid monthly over the next.
Well, do we want it monthly or per pay period?
Per pay period, yeah.
I'd rather have it be monthly personally.
Well,
But
that makes it hard for Julie.
I
yeah.
can do it either way. It's going to be an added category of bonus. It'll have different tax implications. If you pay it at the beginning, if you pay it at a one lump, you're gonna get 1,000 at a time. If you divide it out, it'll be like 500 per check. So it would have tax implications. I can do it however you guys want to word this.
I would recommend you do it in the way that's most advantageous to the employee.
Then I would say over the next 10 months, it's part of the normal payroll.
Okay. Shall we read it one more time then?
To recommend to the board retention bonuses for Mooney, Fitzgerald, and Ballinger in the amounts of 15,000, 15,000, 7,500 respectively, to be paid out over the next 10 months as part of the normal payroll.
Okay. All right.
Can I second that?
Well, we had, oh,
Laura-
that's right, Megan seconded it
Okay,
already.
never mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's just a friendly amendment. Okay. I think it's time to vote then. All in favor? All right. Very good. All right, that's 4 of us. Motion carries.
And
Okay.
Carol, I just wanted to point out really quickly, if anything is getting referred to committees right now, I mean, just to be mindful, we just canceled our finance committee meeting this month and everything due to the shortages. So we just got to be thinking about, if anyone wants reviews done and everything, the timeline's not going to align with meetings for the board.
Right.
So with that in mind, if it doesn't get to the board and voted on, I think we need to have as a start date February 1st or we need to put a start date in.
Right.
Yeah, I agree because that addresses the urgency, right? That's the urgency piece. If you can hear me, otherwise I'll put it in the chat.
We can.
You can make it effective with the first pay period following board action.
So when this comes to the board, it will come together with some knowledge of the salary savings that we've had so far. I'm assuming.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
But you also
Um,
have prospective savings because we don't know how long the hiring process is going to take. So that is an incomplete picture if that's all you provide.
As of right now, yeah. I'll have to, honestly, it's not a huge ask, but it would take me a little, 30 minutes to an hour to pull together, and I'm literally running behind schedule on things that are difficult. I will make it everything is a priority right now, literally. I have taxes, payroll, and audit that is all behind schedule right now. I will do my best to pull something together, but I'm thinking it would basically be on a per payroll basis because, as Erica said, we don't know how long these vacancies are going to be open.
I mean, intuitively, we understand there's some open positions which are going to contribute to these bonuses. Sort of to me, that's end of story.
I mean, I think some ballpark numbers could be arranged, not by you, Julie. I mean, Brian gave me the wage rate spreadsheet. I can come up with ballpark numbers. It's this per pay period, not dealing with retirement, FICA, SUTA, whatever all those things are.
Well, we
And
do need to look at that though, but I do have a spreadsheet that I use for budget that includes all the benefits.
okay,
I might be able to go into there. I'm just thinking on the spot. I just realized that came to mind. I may be able to go in there and basically it's set up for a year budget. I can probably just pull that up, change a couple formulas and give you again, it won't be scientific, but it will include benefits as well, which will matter.
yeah, let me just say, I'm happy to do any arithmetic, run it out for a certain number of months, do a couple of different scenarios. It won't be perfect. It won't be as if Julie did it, but it might give the board some idea of how much we would be dipping into funds that haven't already been designed for wages. Yeah.
Thinking of that spreadsheet, I think it won't take me an hour to do it. I think it will
Okay.
take less time.
However you like.
Thank you.
Yep. Mary,
Yes.
you have your
Oh,
hand
I'm sorry. I didn't lower my hand.
You have your hand up. Okay. So we gotta think. I don't know who collective we is, but the big piece that we haven't addressed today is how we're gonna recommend that the village tackle the climate environment, work conditions, work morale. I know Brian has this visit from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities in the works for April, which is good. I mean, they have a lot of credibility, local experience. Going to talk about how things have gone in other communities and best practices in Wisconsin. So that's a real thing that's going to happen. Is it the right way to start, or do we need to do something even before that? I mean, what could we do before that? I don't know if we can really solve that in this meeting. We've already had a 2-hour meeting. But I'm not exactly sure how to communicate to the board that this is meant to be tied. This is meant to be tied to this set of bonuses.
I don't think it needs to be formally tied. I think it needs to be communicated that the work is incomplete if we don't address the structural problems that led to this calamitous situation. I'm reluctant to take on much of a project to the extent that it takes time from the staff to support it. That's the last thing they need right now. What they need is running room to keep up with all of this. And this is not, we are addressing it, but in terms of making a project out of it, I think we're not doing anybody any favors if we lay more layers of responsibility on people who can't keep their head above water as it is.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. We are in a catch-22 right now. All right. I believe we have done with item 7, and future agenda items, I assume, is going to include environment/climate for staff. Any others?
I think
Megan had something else she wanted to talk about. I think signing bonus.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Mary.
we may want to consider any, given its real change in onboarding issues with bringing new people on with yet unknown skill sets and knowledge bases. At least I'd like a report on that the next time we meet.
A report from whom?
Well, I would hope Julie or Brian would let us know if, so essentially we're launching the village staff again, how that launch is going.
Ah, okay. I see. I
I
get it.
think the village lost a tremendous amount of knowledge when David left, and just things like the bulletin, which are suffering, frankly, just how we sort of get rolling, how we roll back into what we were used to. It's going to require effort. I just think it'd be good to have reports on that. How are we progressing?
Yeah, I misunderstood, Erica. I thought you were advocating that we make a whole new structure for onboarding and report
Oh,
on
no.
how it's going. Okay, just to be clear. Anything else? That will be a lot anyway. All right, everybody, motion to adjourn.
Also move.
Okay, Erica moves, Mary seconds. The motion to adjourn. Everybody ready to vote? I vote, go ahead. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, committee and staff and residents who hung out with us. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.